What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hassan Piker, and this is the HasanAbi broadcast coming to you live from sunny California, Los Angeles. Folks, we're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. I want to dance around, and I want to do the classic like Friday thing and be like, it's Friday, you know what I mean? Saturday, Sunday, but I don't want to do that because not a very good Friday, I'll be honest with you. I even felt weird about playing the intro music as I normally do, because right now, as we are speaking, as we are talking, Kitchy88, thank you for the 25, get the subs. The IDF has cut off all comms on the ground in Gaza and is most likely moving its ground troops into Gaza as well. I am going to try my very best to get you live updates from the ground. I mean, we have very little information. This is the only thing we have. Here's the Gaza City skyline. That buzzing that you're hearing is drones that are constantly above the city. Thank you to Macias. So I feel weird. I feel odd, and it's hard to start to do my normal song and dance on Friday because the Immaculate Friday vibes are fucked right now. I'll be honest with you. But as far as personal news goes, I was supposed to go to a birthday party / Halloween party last night, but instead, because I'm feeling sick, I chose to stay behind and stay at home and watch Gen V instead. And also, this morning I worked out, and while I was doing my T's and Y's that I normally do with chest support on a bench press, I did it without, and I feel like my legs were so shot over the course of this past week that I might have tweaked my lower back a little bit. Not like terribly, but I'm in a little bit of pain. CNN is on the ground from Israel's side. We can get some information on that front right now.
I think that just reinforces what the IDF have been warning the citizens here to be careful about, to stay close to their shelters, and it's indicative of the fact that the tempo of operations here is perhaps picking up. We've seen as well a couple of flares fired in the sky towards Gaza. We've seen those over recent nights, but again, you would expect flares to be fired close to or around troops in the field who want to get better visibility on what's the ground in front of them. It's illumination for troops in the field to see where the danger is, where the enemy may be hiding, Anderson.
Yeah, Nick, I think it's important in situations like this to point out what we do not know. We heard from Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the IDF, a short time ago, saying that the ground operation in Gaza is expanding. We do not know to what extent is it expanding. As Nick said, flares over Gaza in a certain part of Gaza would perhaps indicate troops on the ground or movement on the ground in armored vehicles and tanks. We have seen over the last day or two some operations, very limited incursions to, according to the IDF, eliminate any munitions that might be in border areas and also any reconnaissance posts, and to sort of soften the ground and level the ground for the next phase. General Wesley Clark is also joining us. General Clark, as you see those flares being fired into the air over parts of Gaza and what you're hearing from the IDF, what do you make of what's going on?
I think what we have here is what we would call a reconnaissance in force, Anderson. That is to say, it's a large force. It's going in. It's looking to probe the enemy's defenses, find out his reaction, collect intelligence, maybe take prisoners, maybe get into the tunnel complex, and it may or may not stay in. If they find that this is advantageous,
no, man. If yesterday's operations, are any, yesterday, the IDF sent in a tank column. Okay, they sent in a fucking tank column and basically busted through. The only thing that they did was, I think, like, before this time around here, we're live, by the way. Here you go. Post it. Let the people know I'm live. Have you known the news about Motaz is asking for an international protection in his IG? I did not see that, but I'm not shocked by that, considering the Israeli occupying forces' proclivity to assassinate journalists, 22 so far, and their family members if they don't assassinate the journalists directly. It's understandable that journalists in Gaza, the remaining ones who haven't been fucking killed, would want some level of assurance or international protection. I am talking to journalists who have contacts on the ground in Gaza, behind the scenes, and they are telling me that their WhatsApp messages are not going through, that they have no way of communicating with people that are currently on the ground. Okay? The internet is down. Comms are down. There's no information out of Gaza. It's just, this is done deliberately. They've shut off all matter of telecommunications coming out of Gaza, specifically so you don't know what is going on the ground. It's very difficult to get information right now. Isn't this Hasan covering breaking news? Yes, this is me covering breaking news. I love that that is what your main point of contention here is. It's not that like yeah, if it's a fucking mass shooting going on, I don't cover it. It's a little bit different when like an active ethnic cleansing campaign is occurring and I'm covering breaking news by giving you fucking CNN coverage on it. Are you that stupid that your immediate goal in this circumstance as a 15-month subscriber who's been in here for a year is like trying to win a fucking semantics argument? I've said it already. Take a fucking week off, stupid. Like, I don't understand. There is obviously verifiable information from on the ground, okay? I'm not giving you casualty numbers right now that I just made up or some shit. It's ridiculous to be this fucking petty. I also told you I am talking to journalists with contacts on the fucking ground, okay, who are saying that their communications are completely shut off. Like, they cannot get a single fucking piece of information from their contacts. When I talk about shit like this, I'm not talking out of my fucking ass, okay? If your goal is to try and derail me here and try to like I don't know, try to create some confusion on my coverage, if that's your main point of contention here, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Okay? This. Nice. Okay. Here, let's go to Al Jazeera.
It's their central command, the place where they make the big decisions, i.e. the headquarters of Hamas. And as you heard earlier from the hospital, they're saying that there's 60,000 people there. Well, you know, it's impossible to evacuate a hospital of that size that is the biggest and really probably one of the last remaining that can offer services to any of those Palestinians, especially those that took refuge from the north based on...
Brother, you're an unserious person, and your goal in here is to like win a fucking online argument that you've created in your head. This is not like in normal circumstances, I shouldn't even dignify you with a response, but I'm going to repeat this one more time. The person that I gave a week off to also personally recognized that he was being an asshole before I fucking gave them a week off. You, on the other hand, here you go. You can take a full ban. There is no logic to like me giving you literal, like verified information from reports, okay, on an active situation. It's insane. It's insane. Like, go fucking yell at CNN then, okay? Be like, wow, I can't believe CNN is reporting on this. I can't believe Al Jazeera is reporting on this. Anyway.
Here, there's a change in what we're seeing on the ground. It's not clear from what the army said whether that's going to be the next step. They have been saying that they're preparing for the next phase. He also said we call on residents of Gaza City to move south. Again, that's something we've been hearing often, that they plan to go into the north. They have sent foot soldiers. Very small groups have entered from time to time, potentially, possibly testing Hamas to see what kind of confrontation they're going to meet if they go in on the ground. Rob, Israel has an incredibly strong air force. From above, it's got US reinforcement that's providing a lot of those bombs that are being used, that are being dropped on Gaza. So we know that militarily it is strong because of the amount of aid. The biggest, largest amount of aid that the US provides is to Israel. Going in on foot is a completely different story, and certainly Hamas has this underground network of tunnels that Israel, despite surveillance, it seemed wasn't fully across. And the proof is in the fact that that attack happened on October the 7th and took it completely by surprise. I will say...
the reports that... See, this is why I cover fucking breaking news sometimes, okay? This is one thing that I do all the time. Here's a good example. There are reports Israel's going to use nerve gas. No. Israel does violate international law by utilizing white phosphorus, for example. This is verified information from the Human Rights Watch. I wait when stuff like that comes out. I wait until there's a third-party verification. But no, the idea that they are going to be using nerve gas, American nerve gas especially, is wrong, is completely incorrect. That is a Middle East Eye coverage that you read that you thought was 100% true. It's not. They already have incredibly evil methods of mass murder that they're utilizing. They do not have to use... You look at the bombs that are exploding right now on the Gaza skyline. There's a reason why that skyline is fucking completely dark. These are all residential neighborhoods. Why are they completely dark? Because there's no fuel, because there's no electricity. Israel has shut off their fuel and electricity for the past 20 fucking days now. Israel has shut off their food for the past 20 days. Israel has shut off their water for the past 20 days. Okay?
In 1948 couldn't return, and still the Palestinian generations that came after that are still not able to return.
Sarah Khara talking to us in occupied East Jerusalem. Sarah, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Charles Stratford, who's in Ramallah for us for the latest there. We're focusing on Gaza at the moment, but of course a lot has been happening in the West Bank over the last couple of weeks. Talk us through what the latest is, Charlie.
Their incursion is from the northern side, okay?
That's right, Rob.
They're entering near the northern side here. This is according to the Clash report. Israeli sources citing Palestinian reports claim IDF tanks have started to enter the east of Beit Hanun in the north of the Gaza Strip. This is from literally right now. Okay?
In that raid. Of course, the Israelis don't go into these places and not come under fire themselves. We know that there are a lot of armed Palestinians in some of these areas as well. They call themselves the armed resistance, but 3 Palestinians killed there and at least 8 wounded, including 1 journalist. There were also clashes in various other places across the West Bank today. These are clashes that basically started as a result of youths throwing stones. That's a normal kind of Friday event, occurrence across the occupied Palestinian territory here. But of course, in the context of the war, things are a lot more difficult, a lot harsher. And according to the Palestinian Red Crescent, at least 71 people were wounded, 27 of them wounded by live fire. Israeli soldiers seemingly increasingly using live ammunition, perhaps not unsurprising when we have heard in the last couple of days from the top Israeli commander in charge of operations here in the occupied West Bank, saying that the gloves were off now and that there would be a continuation of, in his words, raids to break terrorist nests. There have also been some demonstrations, quite a lot of demonstrations across the occupied West Bank today. Here in Ramallah, also in Hebron, and one that's south of Nablus. Perhaps safe to say that smaller than expected, and it's being speculated one of the reasons why is because of the increasing amount of Israeli military roadblocks peppering the road systems across the occupied territories here. You know, it's been bad for years, but again, as a result of the war, movement is a lot more restricted than it has been in previous times. And another reason is basically because people are afraid. People are scared to go out and protest, to demonstrate, whether in support of the people in Gaza or whether it be...
Oh, shit, I'm muted. I didn't realize I was muted this whole time. Fuck. Okay. I'm glad that they have footage on the Al-Shifa hospital right now. I'm glad that they have cameras on the Al-Shifa hospital right now because that's a genuine fear that I have. The IDF has called on the citizens of Gaza, the people of Gaza, to move south. Not that they're not going to bomb the southern positions. They have been, and they have consistently bombed civilian targets in southern positions this past week and even before. However, my major fear is the Al-Shifa hospital. Why am I saying this? Well, because the IDF and even Benjamin Netanyahu released their like stupid ass, incredibly idiotic propaganda point saying like, oh, under the Al-Shifa hospital is the Hamas headquarters. Now this has been a rumor for a very long time, except the problem is you can't fucking bomb a goddamn hospital because you consider it to be the headquarters of Hamas underneath it. Now, obviously, Hamas does have a extensive tunnel network, okay? They have an extensive tunnel network. They do. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the original video. Oh, here it is. There's no audio on this, but I don't know why, but here it is. Hamas/ISIS is sick, says Benjamin Netanyahu. They turn hospitals into headquarters for their terror. We just released intelligence proving it. Here it is. The intelligence that they fucking prove is just an illustration. Intelligence-based illustration video regarding Hamas's use of the Shifa hospital, both above. It's like all of their information is like this. Like every time they fucking post something like this, it's legitimately terrifying. Because guess what? I think it's a target that they're trying to justify before they fucking bomb it. That's what I'm afraid of. Now, obviously, we've seen this before. If you remember, here it is. Where's that famous the famous image? Does anyone have that famous image in the Al-Qaeda tunnel structure? Oh, here it is. Here it is. I mean, this image is the same as this image, except it's worse. Here's bin Laden's mountain fortress. The complex of caves at Tora Bora is carved 1,150 feet into a 13,000 feet mountain and can accommodate up to 1,000 people. Now, let me explain something to you, okay? The difference is the fucking Tora Bora tunnel structure is inside of a goddamn mountain. It's not sitting on top of a hospital, okay? Obviously, this was completely made up and grossly exaggerated, okay? It's just fucking fan fiction. And the same exists for this, okay? Like, what are they? They got a conference room in here? They have a conference room in the fucking inside of a tunnel structure under the hospital? It's fucking ridiculous. Now, ultimately, the difference is you fucking toss a Moab in here, okay? It's one thing. It's a goddamn mountain. You do the same for the Al-Shifa hospital. You got surgeons, nurses, doctors, patients, babies and incubators on top of this fucking supposed Hamas underground complex. That's why it is terrifying, okay? That's why it's terrifying that they fucking drop this propaganda. Normally, in a situation like that, when Israel lies about a thing like this, you're like, oh fuck, they might bomb this place now. I feel like this is a pre-justification. Doctors Without Borders is also stationed at Shifa. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter because, one, Western forces have blown up Doctors Without Borders hospitals before. Look up Kunduz and Obama. Okay, that's number one. Number two, they've already blown up mainstream media positions. the Israeli government exploded a residential and business complex that housed the Associated Press office in Gaza. Okay? The Associated Press. Like, we're not just talking about Al Jazeera. They've been murdering a shit ton of Palestinian journalists, okay? I believe 22, and even their family members, as a matter of fact. However, they've also blown up UN workers, UNRWA workers, UN workers in general, UN schools that are also used as shelters. They've also blown up the Associated Press building, the building that the Associated Press was inside of, claiming that it was Hamas. And they did it right in front of our eyes. So it's not like they're going to fucking stop themselves when they put forward a new target like this. It's terrifying. Legitimately fucking terrifying. And now, while we're having this conversation, they are, while we are having this conversation, they've cut off all comms and all information out of Gaza. Now, the problem is, yeah, I streamed during the AP bombing. We watched it happen in real time. Yes. Shelter to whom? Hamas, maybe? Yeah, that's, I mean, I can't tell if you're like saying that as a joke or if you're being serious. Ultimately, though, yeah, Washington Post reporters cannot reach their colleagues in Gaza. Palestinian Red Crescent Society says it has lost contact with its medical teams, shutting off comms. Okay? Wait, what the fuck? Why did that? So broken. Shutting off comms doesn't just like stop with us not knowing what the fuck is going on in the world. Okay? When you shut off comms internally inside of Gaza, now hospital workers can't communicate with one another. Ambulance services cannot go to the areas of need. How do I respond to my coworker saying Israel is not performing genocide because the Palestinian population has doubled since 2005? Disgusting take I had to listen to today. Yes, people in horrifying conditions actually have higher birth rates. It's ridiculous to claim. People think, okay, here's one thing I want to explain here. Okay, doing a genocide is not as easy as people think it is. It's not just like you turn on the fucking genocide switch and then people die. It's not that easy to kill people. Okay, that's why when hundreds of thousands of people die in one fucking act like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, okay, that's a devastating circumstance. That's like a uniquely evil moment in history. Okay. Other than that, it's not very easy to just like slaughter and butcher people, okay? Because guess what? People inside of a fucking concentration camp still end up having children, okay? People still try to survive. They adapt to those gruesome conditions. So having your population increase while you are under horrifying circumstances does not change the reality that there is a butchering happening, okay? It's like it's very, very silly to assume that it happens like overnight. The Holocaust is a great example of this as well. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen like, oh yeah, boom, clicked on the Holocaust button. It was an extensive period of continuously increasing the slaughter that occurred over the course of a decade almost. It doesn't happen overnight, and people don't understand that. If the murder rate is lower than the birth rate, then murder is okay. Exactly. Surely there would be some noticeable shift in the age of the population that would highlight the fact that genocide is still occurring despite an increase in population. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's like any indication. Like, for example, I don't know. Maybe the fact that the life expectancy in the Gaza Strip, literally like a couple miles off of this made-up artificial boundary, is 10 years younger, okay, than the life expectancy in Israel proper. How did that work? How did that happen? They literally live right there. That is the greatest indication, okay? Life expectancy being 10 years younger in the Gaza Strip than Israel proper, when they are literally right on top of one another, have the fucking same diet, or supposedly are supposed to have the same diet. There's no difference between the life expectancy of North Dakota and South Dakota, okay? And the proximity between North Dakota and South Dakota, especially along the border, is even larger than the proximity between fucking Gaza and Tel Aviv, okay? It's 50 miles. This is straight up genocide denial rhetoric, okay? That's what it is. Also, ethnic displacement plays a role in this as well. like deliberate ethnic displacement, plays a fucking role in this as well. If you want to understand the 10 stages of genocide, 1, classification. All cultures have categories that distinguish people into us and them by ethnicity, race, religion, or nationality. German and Jew, Hutu and Tutsi. If societies are too segregated, divided, they're most likely to have genocide. The main way of preventing genocide at this early stage is to develop opportunities in society for people to work and live together who are from different ethnic, social, national, or religious backgrounds. Enforce diversity. Okay? This will allow people to become more tolerant, understanding of each other. It works. In the United States, public schools serve this function, even though they are heavily segregated right now, as they were even before Brown v. Board of Education at this point in time. But yes, this is why I talk about it all the time. There's a reason why cities are fucking blue. Okay? The reason why cities are blue is not because, like, black people live there. Okay? Black people live in enclaves in the South. Those areas are blue as well. But other areas are not. Why? A much higher percentage of the population in certain districts where black people live in the South, they vote blue. The population percentage of where black people live or brown people live in cities is much lower than a town in the South. Why? Why do they still vote blue? They vote blue because when you live in an urban environment, when you live in a diverse environment, you become more tolerant. It's segregation that allows allow this kind of hatred to fester. Why is there nothing we can do? The aid you raise will do nothing for a nation of people that will no longer exist. Why don't you translate to your audience the actual action and activism? I refuse to believe there's absolutely no route to be taken to make a ceasefire happen if there's a full-scale genocide to fully condone violence in the streets. What are you saying? The aid we raised will do nothing? What are you talking about, dude? What? Shut the fuck up. Anyway. Number 2, symbolization. We give names of other symbols and classifications of ethnicity, race. We give the name of people, Jews, gypsies, or distinguish them by colors or dress and apply them to different members or groups. Classification and symbolization are universally human and do not necessarily result in genocide unless they lead to the stage of dehumanization. When combined with hatred, symbols may be forced upon unwilling members of minority groups, the yellow star for Jews under the Nazi rule, the blue scarf for people from the Eastern Zone in Khmer Rouge, Cambodia. Sometimes we impose symbols on ourselves, like gangs using certain colors as a group's right, but sometimes backfires when they're discriminated against. Number 3, discrimination. Number 4, dehumanization. Number 5, organization. Genocide is always organized, usually by state, though sometimes informally by terrorist groups. Special army units or militias are often trained and armed. Plans are made for genocidal killings. To combat this stage, membership in these militias should be outlawed. Their leaders should not be allowed to travel outside of their country, where they may be able to raise funds or get weapons. Now, this is deliberately written in a way where you can say this about Hamas, obviously, but also when it's a state that is backed by the United States government, like Israel, it doesn't matter what the classification is. The IDF absolutely falls under this category, but it doesn't matter because America will always block any effort from the UN Security Council. They can veto it. They have full-blown veto power. Okay? I know the G word is an ethnic slur. I'm reading it from a genocide document. Okay? It's like the one instance where it's I'm like reading it directly from a genocide document, man. Oh, what the fuck? Number 6 is polarization. Extremists drive the groups apart. Hate groups broadcast propaganda that reinforces the prejudice and hate. Laws may forbid intermarriage and social interaction between the groups. This is literally happening in Israel right now. Extremist terrorism targets moderates and intimidates them so far that they are silent. Moderate leaders are those best able to prevent genocide, and they're often the first to be assassinated. Or sidelined, if not assassinated, or sidelined, neutered, like the secular Palestinian Authority, for example. Prevention may, like, these 10 steps of genocide is literally like Benjamin Netanyahu's direct approach to how to prop up Hamas and funnel funds into Hamas and use them. Like, this is like a guide almost. Preparation, national or perpetrator group leaders in the plan the final solution to the Jewish, Armenian, Tutsi, or other target groups in question. They often use euphemisms to cloak their intentions, such as referring to their goals as ethnic cleansing, purification, or counterterrorism. They build armies. They buy weapons and train their troops and militias. They indoctrinate the populace with fear of the victim group. Leaders often claim, if we don't kill them, they will kill us. Prevention of the preparation may include arms embargoes and commissions to enforce them. We've already passed this step, by the way. This is the meta. We've already passed this step, and we didn't do the arms embargoes to Israel and commissions to enforce said arms embargoes. It should include prosecution of incitement and conspiracy to commit genocide, both crimes under Article 3 of the Genocide Convention. Persecution. Victims are identified and separated out because of their ethnic or religious identity. This already has been happening under a permit regime. There's 4 different IDs. There's 4 different classifications for 4 different IDs that restrict your freedom of movement greatly inside of Israel and inside of the occupied territories. We're back. It's back. It's back. Refresh. Classic, dude. Fucking classic, dude. I'm gonna be honest. I do not believe that this is because I'm talking about the things I'm talking about, but instead because of pure incompetence from Twitch server side. Okay? It did not go out for long enough that the stream time reset, but it still probably cut a bunch of people off. I mean, yeah, for sure it happened in Vegas too. No, that was different. Vegas was different. I'm here. Hold on. I have to do something. Wait, I think this is the right person. Okay, it is the right person. Okay. The link I need. Okay. Okay. We were looking at the 10 steps of genocide. Number 8, persecution. Victims are identified and separated. Their property is often confiscated. Members of victim groups may be forced to wear identifying symbols. They don't do this, but you are forced to have a different license, a different identification. Okay? None of these things happen overnight, by the way. These things take years and years. And at least in the case of Israel, it's 56 years on top of 75 years of like the nation state and its development, but 56 solid years of this specifically. Okay? Because you cannot comprehend, because it's not very easy to figure out who's an Arab Palestinian or a Muslim and Christian versus who is an Israeli citizen, because it's not, it's not easy to tell. You can't, everybody looks the same. Many people are from this region to begin with. There are white Palestinians and there are plenty of brown Israelis. There's Arab Israelis, right? Jewish Arab Israelis. So you can't really figure out who the fuck is who. So you have to have a strict permit regime where every single person is identified with their IDs, and there are checkpoints everywhere that restrict freedom of movement to ensure that you don't have Palestinians, in areas that they're not allowed to be inside of. And in the West Bank, it's especially dire. Because they have passed laws in apartheid South Africa. One of the laws I've talked about is they had passed laws in apartheid South Africa. One of the things that I've talked about is like, because they wanted to figure out who is black, who even has a little bit of black in them, they would do this thing called the pencil test. Okay? It's in reverse because of the yarmulke. They can know who's not Israeli. No, that's not true. That's ridiculous. You think every fucking Jewish person wears a yarmulke? What are you, crazy? That's not how that works at all. No. What? No. Some of you guys are completely oblivious to how this shit works. No. They don't wear patches yet, but there is a reason for why they have this very strict, very rigorous permit structure, 2 separate license plates that don't allow you to drive on Israeli roads, and also IDs, 4 different kinds of identifications that stop you from going into areas that is literally your land, by the way. Like, it's your home. West Bank is Palestinian. It's supposed to be Palestinian controlled. But the Israeli occupying force currently occupies it and controls every aspect of people's lives there. There's no Hamas in the West Bank, but it doesn't matter. That hasn't stopped them from occupying it for 56 fucking years. Anyway, then we get to the final stage. Here. Persecution. Their property is often confiscated. Obviously, you guys know that this has happened in the West Bank quite frequently. Sometimes they are even segregated into ghettos, deported into concentration camps. The ghetto would be the ABC partition structure that exists in the West Bank, and the concentration camp is somewhat similar to what you see in Gaza, an open-air prison, basically. There aren't guards internally inside of this concentration camp like you would see in other historic concentration camps, like during the Holocaust. However, this does not change the reality that all matter of existence in Gaza is completely controlled by the Israeli government, despite the fact that they try to tell you that that is not the case. They'll be like, oh, 2005, we left Gaza. Look at what happened. It's bullshit. Israel bombed the airport in 2001. Okay? They never allowed an airport to be rebuilt there. There are no ports in Gaza. People in Gaza cannot go beyond a 6-mile line, which changes from time to time, actually. Gaza is basically a Bantustan, a ghetto, or a concentration camp. The structure in the West Bank, where there is an occupying force and its presence that they let you know if you listen to Breaking the Silence, for example, veterans from the IDF that now stand against the occupation because of the unjustifiable acts of cruelty and violence that they subjected Palestinians to, will often talk about this reality, like night raids that they engage in all over the West Bank deliberately, knowing full well that the people that are inside of these homes have not done anything. They do it because the process is called making your presence be known. They do it specifically so that everybody always knows that the Israeli forces can come into their house and fuck them up. It's not to capture terrorists at all. It is to specifically harass and apply pressure to the Palestinians living in the West Bank. Anyway, let's continue. They're confined to a famine-struck region or starved. Gaza and even the remaining parts of the West Bank are parts that Israel does not occupy, or rather still occupies, but allows Palestinians to live under. It's 25% of the West Bank. 100% of the West Bank is supposed to be Palestinian land, and yet they have overtaken. And as I've shown you step by step through the B'Tselem maps that we looked at, they've overtaken 75% of the West Bank by utilizing it as like military land, specifically taking over areas that are viable for the agrarian development of Palestinians that need it. Anyway. At this stage, there are acts of genocide because they intentionally destroy, and genocidal massacres begin. There are acts of genocide because they intentionally destroy part of a group. At this stage, a genocide emergency must be declared. If the political will of great powers, regional alliances, or the UN Security Council can be mobilized, armed international intervention should be prepared, or heavy assistance be provided to the victim groups to prepare for self-defense. Humanitarian assistance should be organized by the UN and private relief groups for the inevitable tide of refugees to come. We are already past this stage, okay? We are now in the extermination stage. Extermination and denial happening side by side, as a matter of fact. Extermination begins and quickly becomes the mass killings legally called genocide. It is extermination to the killers because they do not believe their victims to be fully human. See dehumanization. When it's sponsored by the government, the armed forces often work with private armies to do the killing. Except in this circumstance, it doesn't even have to be the private army. What? You didn't address the other point, the chatter who said aid wouldn't help the Palestinians about organizing, and that really, really merits the discussion? What? You didn't address the other point that the chatter who said aid wouldn't help Palestinians made about organizing? What do you mean? There's organizations happening right now. There is a tremendous amount of organizing. Look around you. There are massive fucking protests every goddamn day. Okay? There are massive protests every goddamn day in the Western world. Hundreds of thousands of people fucking throwing their bodies on the line in areas where it's illegal to do so. And yet, it does not matter. It doesn't change the reality that our leadership is not listening to anything that we're saying. And yes, Central Committee is correct. There are private armies doing the killing in the West Bank. They have armed the extremist settler militias. You are correct on that front as well. You're right. But the other side of the extermination in the Gaza Strip is being conducted by the state, by the military. Okay? The Gaza Skyline stream just shut down. Wait, really? Oh, fuck. Literally just now? Oh, no. Okay. Well, that's not good. Anyway, we've experienced all of the different stages that are in this document already, and we're continuously experiencing it. And people in positions of power in the Western world and Western media in general know this. They know what's going on here. And yet, for some reason, why'd you say I have COVID? I do not have. Oh, you're talking about Central Committee. Okay. I think that people don't understand that if they continue doing this, and you see polling numbers like this, for example, percentage of people who agree or disagree that Canada should support Israel against Hamas by political party. 31% disagree on the liberal side. 46% agree that we should help Israel. On the conservatives, 44% agree that we should help Israel. And then the rest of it is 53% disagree. New Democrats, 54% disagree. Bloc Québécois, 60% disagree. And these guys are not exactly fans of Muslims in general. Like, think about that. Even the fucking Bloc Québécois is like, come on, dog. What the fuck are you doing? Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's spokesman rejects calls for a ceasefire and says we will no longer live with this reality and that the war is not being fought to deter Hamas, but that instead we have decided that Hamas must be gone. Bloc is literally isolationist, but not out of the question because they may see themselves as colonized despite being French. Yeah, I know. That's why. I know. Anyway, so let's continue. Sometimes the genocide results in revenge killings by groups against each other, creating the downward whirlpool-like cycle of mutual genocide where the victims actually organize and commit a second genocide on the perpetrators. At this stage, only rapid and overwhelming armed intervention can stop the genocide. Real safe areas on refugee escape regions should be established with heavily armed international protection. The UN needs troops that can go in and to genocidal areas and stop the killing when the UN Security Council calls it. The UN may decide to act through regional military forces from organizations like NATO. Relief groups should be prepared to assist the victims. Except what's going on right now? What's going on right now? The UN Security Council can't even fucking call for a ceasefire because America keeps vetoing it, and America is assisting the side that is conducting the ethnic cleansing. That's what we're doing right now. If the UN will not get involved directly, militarily powerful nations should provide the airlift equipment and financial means necessary for regional states to intervene with UN authorization. U.S. urges Israel against Gaza ground invasion and pushes a surgical campaign. And the final stage is denial. Denial is the 10th stage that always follows genocide. It is among the surest indicators of further genocidal massacres. The perpetrators of genocide dig up the mass graves, burn the bodies, try to cover up the evidence, and intimidate the witnesses. They don't really need to do that at this stage. And, we're at the denial stage because America yesterday, by John Kirby's own fucking mouth and also by the goddamn president, said that the numbers of the dead in Gaza are actually probably fake. That is genocide denial. Okay? That is genocide denial. I hope you understand that. They are already doing that. They're doing that already. You are watching an ethnic cleansing campaign be conducted in 4K pretty much, or they're just fake. Yeah, dude, they're just fake, brother. How can you explain to me how you think those numbers are fake, but you also simultaneously hear Israeli officials say we're fighting human animals and we're going to be indiscriminately bombing? Israeli officials go on television and say, I don't understand why people have any kind of empathy for Palestinians when they're all animals. That happened like 2 days ago on Sky TV. Or when the Israeli government itself literally posts photos flexing that they dropped 6,000 bombs on an area that is smaller than fucking Rhode Island, okay? Like, they are saying these numbers aren't fake. It is ridiculous to say, how does that prove the numbers are real? How can you live with yourself? You are literally a Nazi at that point. You are engaging in ethnic cleansing denial as the ethnic cleansing is happening. But it's not surprising. Many Western dogs had the same fucking perspective when the Nazis were ethnically cleansing Jews during the Holocaust. They wrote about it and said, that's unbelievable. I mean, I know the Nazis are cruel, but they can't go that fucking hard. I mean, come on now. That's precisely what many in the Western world, in Western media said. Not only has the Gaza health officials released all of the information of all of the 7,000 that have died, okay? Not only have they released this information, time and time again, every single third-party verification group, every single NGO like the Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, Amnesty International, and more importantly, the American State Department has utilized the Hamas-backed Gaza Health Ministry's numbers because there has never been a moment where the Gaza Health Ministry's numbers have been inconsistent. That's the issue, okay? That's why everybody uses the Gaza Health Ministry's numbers until Israel decided that they're fake. The only way and UN, it confirms these numbers as well. The only way that you can just get away with this kind of genocide denial and not be called exactly what you are, a fascist piece of shit, is because the dehumanization campaign was so incredibly successful that you do not see even the fucking doctors on the ground, some of which are Western doctors, by the way. Not every single doctor is a Arab dog in your mind, okay? Doesn't even fucking matter, of course. But that you perceive every single person to be working in this monolithic fashion against Israel to engage in a mass coordinated effort to lie. That's your fucking idiotic perspective. And it's no different, in my opinion, than the way that fucking COVID deniers operated during COVID. But you are a fancy liberal and you like reading and you think clearly about these sorts of things, of course. So you're different than the fucking uneducated, unwashed masses that believed COVID was fake, right? You think you're better than those guys. You're not better than those guys. The only difference is mainstream media feeds you this fucking narrative and then usually will clarify that it's completely incorrect. But you know, the people in positions of power will read these fucking narratives out loud, and it justifies your own internal biases, so you just go along with it. Do you understand? Oh my God, people going, but the COVID numbers were inflated. Jesus Christ, dude. I didn't understand it, to be honest. Joseph Robinette Biden, the president, the leader of the free world, supposedly, yesterday said that the Palestinian casualty numbers are fake, or that they are not good enough to be believable, okay? This is genocide denial. This is ethnic cleansing denial. Why? Because every single source on the ground, Western-backed or not, uses these numbers and say they are perfectly accurate, okay? As best as accurate as you can fucking get. This is a phone call from a journalist stationed at the Gaza hospital. He's able to make this call because of data roaming on a Turkish SIM card. Translation: we're in the Al Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. We have no idea what's happening. There's no connection, no Wi-Fi, no reporters. We're cut off from everything. People can't call ambulances or civil defense. We are being bombed in an unprecedented manner. The sky around us just lights up with explosions, and no one knows what's going on. You can't reach anyone, even if they're 500 meters away only. Ambulances and medics are begging reporters to let them know which streets are getting bombarded to go rescue the victims, but the reporters themselves don't know where anything is happening. Because of the connection loss, we are trying to report the news, but we have no idea what's happening. That's what happens when you engage in mass media blackouts, okay? And that is by design. They're doing this on purpose. What's the point of Ustream? The point of my stream, for those of you who are still oblivious at this point, is to show you a perspective of the dehumanized, to show you the perspective of people that are worthy of being heard out, okay? A people that fucking do not get heard at all. A group of individuals that are currently being ruthlessly and mercilessly ethnically cleansed. That is my goal. That is my job. That is what I try to do to the best of my ability, even in times like this. Yeah. One of the few times the State Department has questioned the Gaza numbers is because they thought the number was too low. Fourth paragraph. Yeah. The State Department in the United States has always used the Gaza numbers as correct. These numbers have also been tested time and time again by Human Rights Watch, for example. And those numbers have been considered to be correct. They've always been considered to be accurate. So accurate that the U.S. State Department uses it. So accurate that the UN uses it. Okay? Everyone, including the United States of America, considers the Gaza death toll to be reliable. Could there be inaccuracies, especially when like active bombing campaigns are happening, when there's no electricity, when there's no internet, when everything is patchy? Of course. But the assumption that we should take what the Gazan health ministry is saying with a grain of salt because they're Hamas backed is fucking ridiculous. Is completely ridiculous. It's genocide denial. That's exactly what it is. And history will write about it as such. The best response to denial is punishment by an international tribunal or national courts. There, the evidence can be heard and the perpetrators punished. This, if there is any justice in this world, will happen. Okay? Tribunals or international courts must be created. They may not prevent the worst genocidal killers, but at least some mass murderers will be brought to justice. Here's Ofer Kassif saying, in Israel, they are considering giving up a prisoner deal in favor of promoting the maneuver and estimate that the briefings by Hamas and Qatar on progress in the deal are intended to delay the operation. Yeah, this is like, they're saying Hamas is using the hostage swap as a mechanism to delay the operation that we want to conduct.
From the top of my building, I can see the flashes of the explosions, either from the artillery or from the airstrikes, but limited Navy shells in the western part of Gaza City and of the north.
I'm running the 3-minute ad break now.
Safwat, so when the Israeli military spokesman said just a few hours ago that he came up and spoke for the second time, in fact, said that they are expanding their ground operations. And now you seem to be reporting that there are some limited operations using tanks in the northern part of Gaza. Has there been any response from Al-Qassam brigades or anyone from Hamas to the comments that were made by the Israeli spokesman?
We could see rockets that were fired from Gaza into southern Israel, and even those with long range fired into Tel Aviv and the central area of Israel. Still, the fighting groups are still able to mobilize and work based on plans that they set in advance before the operations or the attack they carried out in October 7th. This is an indication that the Israelis are not hitting, as they said or claimed, the infrastructure of the fighting groups, since they are able to fire freely or whenever they want a long and short range of rockets towards Israel. And still the whole infrastructure, which is underground, the tunnel network underground, are still able to prevent the Israelis from carrying out the ground operation. This means that the fighting groups are, or the infrastructure of the fighting groups are still strong, and that they can maneuver or can move and carry out their attacks whenever they want and the way they want.
Safwat, while I have you with us, just update us on the situation with the telecommunications lines, because we understand that people are disconnected from each other, and certainly they seem to be disconnected from the outside world.
Well, this point touched everybody in the Gaza Strip, because more than 1.5 million of the population of Gaza has been moved from south to north and from north to south to seeking a shelter or seeking a safer place. So in the last 3 hours, people are unable to communicate or to stay in touch with their relatives, their parents, or their sons, especially after every explosion, as they are used to doing during the 3 weeks of Israeli war. Now there is fear. I think even our colleague Tarek, who is now staying 20 kilometers from his family, I believe, as a father, he is very much worried. I have been receiving also calls from people who are living in Europe or abroad, and their families are staying in Gaza and could stay in touch with them and to make sure that they are still alive. And now people say we are still alive. Nobody says we are fine or we are good. So there is fear that this is a preparation for something bigger, but there is nobody knows what is this operation or the big operation, or what is this bigger thing that's coming up. So the coming hours are important here for the Palestinians in Gaza to understand what the Israelis are preparing. From our experience, two options: either ground operation will start soon, or there is the negotiations that started for the prisoner swap we will see the results in the coming hours. So these are the two options that we understood from our past experience.
Okay, Safwat, we'll let you go for now. We thank you so much. That's Safwat Al-Kahlout reporting for us from Gaza. We are going to take you live to the United Nations. Look at this live picture right there. So the UN General Assembly is due to vote on a resolution And this resolution calls for a humanitarian truce in Gaza, which would
They can't even say ceasefire, so now they're calling it a humanitarian pause.
Israel and Hamas. So what we understand is going to happen is that there's going to be a first vote, in fact, on an amendment that Canada and the U.S. had wanted to add the word, quote, Hamas to the first on the amendment, and then the resolution will
For the
also
record,
be put
the
forward
reason
to a vote.
why
So once the voting begins, we will cross back to the United Nations.
The reason why they want to add
and see how that
Hamas,
transpires.
the reason why they want to add Hamas, and Israel wants to add Hamas, but other nations don't, is because the victims overwhelmingly are not Hamas. The victims overwhelmingly are Palestinian civilians. This distinction must be made by the Western world to actively aid and abet in the ethnic cleansing campaign that Israel is currently engaging in. Okay? You got the condemnations for Hamas, so now you can say, oh, well, we're fighting Hamas. That's why all of the media covers this as not an Israel versus Palestinian affair, not as ethnic cleansing happening to Palestinians under an apartheid regime, which, by the way, both of those factors they regularly recognize under different circumstances, but that this is Israel versus Hamas. It is not Israel versus Hamas. It is simply a justification for their ethnic cleansing campaign. That's it. 3,000 children have been slaughtered by Israel since October 7th. Those kids are not Hamas, okay?
Without a fundamental change, the people of Gaza will face an unprecedented avalanche of human suffering. Everyone must assume their responsibilities. This is a moment of truth. History will judge us.
Well, we heard from the head of the government media office in Gaza, who spoke earlier at Al-Shifa hospital, and he strongly denied Israel's accusations that Hamas is using the hospital as a shield for its tunnels.
The hospital compound is home to more than 60,000 displaced persons, thousands of victims, injured, and patients, and thousands of medical crews, in addition to the relatives of the victims, along with the representatives of dozens of international media outlets. All this proves that the false allegation raised by the Israeli occupation forces are fabricated. They are targeting the medical facility that is providing
make no mistake, do I believe that there are tunnels under the Al-Shifa hospital? Sure. I mean, there's tunnels under everything in Gaza, okay? Do I think that that is ample justification for bombing that hospital? Abso-fucking-lutely not, okay? Abso-fucking-lutely not. That is insane. And also, the tunnel structure is not as, like, in the way that they describe it, right? This is, they're claiming that the Hamas headquarters is under the Al-Shifa hospital is just a rumor, okay? Is just a fucking rumor that they're going along with. And it can be a very deadly rumor, knowing what we know about how Israel operates.
The Assembly is called to order. The General Assembly will resume its consideration of Agenda Item 5, entitled Illegal Israeli Actions in Occupied East Jerusalem.
I'm a Canadian Israeli citizen. I volunteered for Doctors Without Borders in 2014 for 60 days in Gaza. The doctor that I worked with was confirmed in one of the Israeli bombings. I'm going to cry for the rest of the day. Thank you for doing your work. Sorry for your loss, my friend.
On agenda item this afternoon, the Assembly shall now proceed to consider draft resolution A/ES10/L25 and amendment A/ES10/L26. Before proceeding further, I would like to inform members that the draft resolution and draft amendment have closed for e-sponsorship. I now give the floor to the representative of the Secretariat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before the President gives the floor for explanations of vote before the vote, I should like to announce additional co-sponsors of both the two L documents. First, on L26. Since the submission of the draft resolution and in addition to the delegations listed on the L document, the foreign countries have also become co-sponsors of A/ES10/L25. Bear with us. Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria. No. Bear with us. Additional sponsors for L25. This is L25. Bahrain, L25 additional co-sponsors. Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belize, plurinational state of Bolivia, Botswana, Brunei Darussalam, Comoros, Cuba, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Djibouti, Egypt, El Salvador, Indonesia, Iraq, Jordan. So those were original sponsors. I'm very sorry. Those were already on the L document. Additional co-sponsors are Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Chad, China, Gambia, Timor-Leste, and Uganda. Again, additional co-sponsors in addition to those on the L document are Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Chad, China, Gambia, Timor-Leste, and Uganda. If any other countries wish to co-sponsor L25.
Okay, we'll move away from that for just a moment and get some analysis with our diplomatic editor, James Bays, who's here with us in Doha. So, James, just talk us through what we were just listening to and what we expect to happen.
You're seeing how the General Assembly works, and it sometimes can be a little bit chaotic. We have two different things that are going to be put to the vote. We have the original draft resolution drawn up by the Arab group of countries at the United Nations, which is calling for an immediate, durable and sustained humanitarian truce. This is the resolution. What they've just done is go through the names, because some additional countries have said they want to sponsor this as well, and most notably China's added its name. Russia is already a sponsor, as is Turkey, as is a number of other key countries. That's the one resolution. Then there is an amendment. This is the amendment, which is also going to be voted on. This is an amendment that has been produced by Canada, and then we learnt a couple of hours ago that the US also are co-sponsoring this amendment. Now, why is there the amendment? We heard the US ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, said there were things that were missing from this resolution, and she said that was a clear condemnation of Hamas, naming Hamas, because Hamas is not named in the...
They can't do anything. The UN can't do anything. The Security Council gets veto. America has veto power, Chad.
The resolution also demands the safety, well-being and humane treatment of those captives being held. So those are the two votes we're going to see. It'll take some time, I think, the procedure. I think what we're also going to have, from what they've just said, is some additional some statements before...
The reason why they're adding Hamas into the equation... Okay, the reason why they're, well, not for the General Assembly, but the reason why they want to add Hamas into the equation every single time is so they can at least have some semblance of legal justification for the ethnic cleansing campaign. That's why, like, while Israeli officials oftentimes let the mask slip and will routinely tell you what their major goals are, while you have a right-wing Israeli think tank that is close to Benjamin Netanyahu openly stating their plans to annex parts of Gaza, for example, simultaneously as Benjamin Netanyahu saying that we're fighting against darkness and we are the children of the light or whatever the fuck, okay? The reason why they have to do this is so that there is at least some legal justification for the history books, okay? This does not change the reality that this is an ethnic cleansing campaign. It does not change the reality that Hamas sympathizer, oh, nice, dude. They murdered civilians, Hamas sympathizer. Brother, I despise the horrifying actions such as murdering civilians. I've seen the fucking videos from October 7th. They're shocking. They're terrifying. They're ruthless. This is also precisely the reason why I fucking hate what Israel is doing. Do you understand? The idea that you could just come in here and be like, Hamas sympathizer, they murdered civilians. I get that, but they started this battle? Really? Did they? When 700,000 Palestinians were displaced in 1948 by Irgun and Lehi and other standing Zionist military brigades that engaged in campaigns of mass slaughter and fucking mass rape, as a matter of fact? This battle? Yeah, this battle is your copium. Were you in a fucking coma until October 7th? Were you born yesterday? Shut the fuck up. This battle. Your analysis is incorrect, and there is no actual historian or scholar or even Plenty of fucking people inside. No, you don't support Palestine. Suck my fucking cock, you stupid bitch. If you supported Palestinians, you wouldn't be coming in here to go, Hamas sympathizer. They murdered civilians, and act like Israel is not murdering infinitely more civilians now. Is it okay? Is it okay when Israel fucking drops bombs? Is that why? Is that why it makes you feel better about it? 3,000 children being ruthlessly slaughtered by Israeli munitions? That's okay though, right? Bro, I support Palestine, though. I'm Irish. I donate regularly. No, it's not. Suck my cock, okay? You fucking bitch. I'm Irish. I donate regularly, he says. I don't give a fuck what you're saying. I don't give a fuck what you're donating to. First and foremost, your fucking forefathers fought against a colonial occupation as well. So suck my dick. You should at least look into your own goddamn history a little bit better, okay? That's number one. That's number one, but that was justifiable, right? Why? Because why? Is it because they're white? Is that why? Is it because perhaps that they're not Muslim? They're not Arab? Is that why? But not for terrorists. Yeah, dude, famously, the IRA wasn't considered terrorists. You know? They were considered, do you condemn the IRA? Do you condemn the IRA for its actions? Fucking idiot. Unless he's from Northern Ireland. Yeah, I feel like, yeah. The conversation is so silly. You go, Hamas sympathizer, they murdered civilians. It's disgusting. Yeah, they did, but not for terrorists. IRA plus Confederates? So how do you think, how do you think that that Ireland was liberated? How was it supposed to? What? You do not support the IRA. Wait, this is a troll 100% confirmed. There's no way he's comparing the IRA to Confederates because guess what? It doesn't fucking make sense because the other side, the brigades on the Northern Irish side were the ones who openly, Sons of Ulster, openly fucking hype the Confederate side. IRA became terrorist after the civil. Shut the fuck up, dude. Okay, whatever. This guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. Notice how he said you're a Hamas sympathizer without even fucking questioning what my perspective on the matter is. And then also on top of that, he does not ever have to talk about the 7,000 murdered by Israel. He does not have to talk about the 3,000 children murdered by Israel so far. And this is before the ground operation tonight. Okay? Ridiculous. Why? Because those are not actual humans. Those casualties can be denied. Those casualties can be hand waved away because they're simply enemy combatants or they just got in the fucking way. Every single instance of fighting back against colonial occupation was considered by the supposedly decent and kind and elitist, liberal intelligentsia as an act of terror, okay? There are unjustifiable acts of violence that occurred in every single one of these circumstances, okay? In every single one of these circumstances, both at the hands of the ANC against apartheid South Africa, both in the hands of the Algerian forces against colonial France in Algeria, both in the hands of the IRA against both the British forces and civilians living in Northern Ireland too. The Ulster Defense Force has no qualms about who they support throughout history. Yeah, literally. They have been on the wrong side every single time, in every single battle. If your goal is to end the bloodshed, as is mine, yeah, we saw it last night. The IRA targeted civilians at a 35% rate. The Northern Irish forces targeted civilians at an 85% rate. My goal is to end the violence. My goal is to end the bloodshed permanently. Okay? Your goal is to continue it. If you come in here and you just try to hand wave away the endless amounts of bloodshed that we are watching right now in this clear definitional ethnic cleansing campaign that Israel is conducting in Gaza, okay, as it maintains its apartheid structure in the West Bank as well, you are not being productive in any meaningful capacity. Your goal is to just simply look away until the ethnic cleansing campaign is conducted and ends. It's ridiculous. I think it was Felix who said that the from the river to the sea line being considered, you're an apologist. Yeah. Oh, you're saying if you're doing that. Yeah. I think it was Felix who said from the river to the sea being considered like genocidal rhetoric is actually pure projection from individuals who recognize what they're doing is genocidal, what they're doing is ethnic cleansing. So they project and say, oh, the other side also must have that same genocidal ambitions that we do. Okay? That's it. When people say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, they're not talking about like killing every Jewish person that lives in Israel. They talk about the emancipation of Palestinians. Okay? Because Palestinians, if you recognize, are under an apartheid regime, an apartheid structure, living inside of a open-air prison, a concentration camp in Gaza, okay, and living under a brutal colonial occupation that is propped up by settler terrorism in the West Bank, where no such Hamas exists, by the way, okay? If you are in that, if you recognize that, then you have to understand that freeing Palestinians simply means ending this occupation, ending this apartheid. It does not mean killing Jews. But of course, the best you can do in that circumstance and maintain a centrist position in the face of ethnic cleansing going on, okay, and open ethnic cleansing going on, like promoted ethnic cleansing going on, deliberately talked about by officials that are engaging in the act of ethnic cleansing. The only way you can try to like hand wave that responsibility away is by going, well, people said glory to our martyrs, and I don't really understand what martyrs means, even though like babies are also considered martyrs, okay? It's an entirely different fucking concept that you personally do not understand. So you go, oh, well, that's scary. They're saying martyrs, and martyrs means like, terrorists, right? That's what that means, right? Or when you fucking you hear in the news that like some dumbass at a fucking protest, at a Palestinian protest, like brought as a annoying nuisance, some dumbass at a fucking Palestinian protest brought like a Al-Qaeda flag or something, and you point to that to go, look, see, these guys don't deserve freedom. These guys don't deserve freedom. They're all terrorists. It is such an infantile way to argue on the basis of emancipation, like conditional emancipation. Like, what do you think? You think when I hear someone say actually anti-Semitic things that I do not agree with, that I think is fucking unjustifiable under every single circumstance, I am going to go and say, you know what? I was wrong, actually, that the Palestinian ethnic cleansing campaign should continue, that the apartheid regime should continue. What are you, fucking crazy? Fuck those people. But I'm not going to drop my fucking, I'm not going to drop my position no matter how hard you fucking hyper-focus on a bunch of dumbasses that are not reflective of the situation that is ongoing. Absolutely insane. Oh man, someone wrote Free Palestine on a wall at a college. That must mean it's anti-Semitic. It's ridiculous. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, it's anti-colonialism. Thank you. Exactly. I'm sick and tired of this fucking nonsense. When I criticize Saudi Arabia, I am not called Islamophobic. When I criticize Iran, I am not called anti-Shia. But when I criticize Israel, even though every single person knows that I have fought long and hard against anti-Semitism, because it is the inception of fascism, it's the perfect declaration of fascist ideology, that people immediately turn around and go, I don't know. Seems like he's really fucked up. As Ofer Kasif said, our friend of the show, Dr. Ofer Kasif said, anti-Semitism is a crime, anti-Zionism is a duty. That's it.
To name it, and ending the power of terrorist organizations in the region has to be one of the steps that we can all agree needs to be taken. This is why I'm urging all of you to support this amendment, which brings balance to the resolution and names what must be named. What we are proposing is factual and it is fair. If our amendment is adopted, it will allow many member states to support the text as a whole, including Canada. Thank you, Mr. President.
Why did they specifically use the phrase that was intended to be about getting Jews out of Israel? Ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. I don't know, man. I don't think that's how most people understand it. Yeah, dude. When people say from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, including Jews who say that, okay, like Jews in America or anti-apartheid activists, anti-Zionist activists say that, no matter what their background is, they're talking about ethnic cleansing. That's what they're talking about, right? This is ridiculous for two different reasons. Okay? One, it's ridiculous because it's a way to absolve the sins of the Israeli state, the sins of genocide and ethnic cleansing and mass ethnic displacement. The second reason why it's ridiculous is because there is no mechanism to do such a thing, regardless of whether or not there are people who wanted to do it to begin with. So it's already called into question, but there's no structure. There's no structure of enforcement. Whereas the structure of Holocaust, or not Holocaust, but genocide enforcement does very much exist in the Israeli state. They're doing it right now. It's like looking at Black Lives Matter and thinking that it means the great replacement, guys. Okay? This and anger towards like any kind of sentiment that revolves around Palestinian emancipation, Palestinian liberation, and getting upset at that messaging and being afraid that it is like inherently anti-Semitic is no different than the way that white people get scared of the great replacement theory, the white genocide. Okay? It's not real. There is no white genocide, and yet there are still people who are genuinely afraid of white genocide. So what must we do? Should I take those people seriously? Should I act like white genocide is happening? Is genocide actually being done by people, peacefully coexisting and engaging in the act of miscegenation, which was illegal, and now it's not? What do we do? Why must we capitulate to uneducated opinions in the matter as an ethnic cleansing campaign is going on? Why? It is ridiculous. Proton Pack is a fucking federal agent. Okay, I think this is the one that's the anarchist guy. No, that's proletarian. That's the prol guy, not this guy. Never mind. Disagree on this, Hassan. That's not a good slogan to go with. People who pick defund the police defend another slogan with bad optics. I am going to fucking die, okay? I'm Canadian. No, I mistook you for someone else. You're not that guy. The other guy who constantly comes in here and tells me about NS content and how wonderful NS content is, okay? That's not you. That's a different guy. But he also chirps in this annoying way. Optics, optics, optics. Disagree with this one, Hassan. That's not a good slogan to go with. I love this, dude. I love the optics of the situation. Yeah, brother. Defund the police is bad optics. That's why it lost, right? That's why it lost the battle, and not because the billions of dollars of fucking media that was planted against it, that have been engaging in this like act of deliberately misinforming the American population about how police were defunded, even though they were not, and how crime has skyrocketed, even though it has not. If you look at the optics of a situation as Gaza is being raised, okay, and going, I don't know, man, Palestine should be free, seems anti-Semitic. Why? Because, I don't know, that's what people say it is. Then you are not a serious person. Like, let me tell you what's bad optics, dude. Genocide, okay? Let me tell you what's bad optics. Cops killing 1,000 fucking civilians a year. But you are nitpicking the fucking side that is being butchered, the side that is being slaughtered, and their supporters. How can you say you are serious about social justice when that is what you are doing? I personally understand that it is important in the Western world, if you are in the Western world and if you're advocating for a certain position, if you're advocating for Palestinian emancipation, you have to be very careful not to have your words be misconstrued. I personally despise when people go around and fucking rip the posters of the missing Israeli people. Okay? I think it's gross. I understand that. But I'm not going to sit here and spend a tremendous amount of time yelling at those fucking dumbasses because I know that this has nothing to do with the broader and more important conversation. What is going on as we look at 7,000 people that were ruthlessly slaughtered, 3,000 babies, 3,000 children were ruthlessly fucking slaughtered by Israeli bombs. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because at the end of the day, you know what you're saying in that moment? You're going, man, I really wanted to fucking say, let's do a ceasefire because there's an ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign happening in a concentration camp that Israel has operated since 2005. But honestly, then I saw a bunch of dumbasses in fucking college campuses say things that scared me from varying degrees. There are definitely, are there anti-Semitic people that are taking advantage of these protests? Abso-fucking-lutely. Are there people who are doing ridiculous things, like ripping up posters with missing Israeli children and missing Israeli civilians on them? It's ridiculous to do such a thing. Of course. It's gross. It's gross. But you see that and you go, guess what, dude? I just can't say no to ethnic cleansing now. You're a fucking coward and a psychopath. You were just looking for any reason to just say, you know, I'm sorry, ethnic cleansing has to happen. You are no different than Joe Biden in that situation. Okay? No decent person would agree with that, but people are specifically being criticized about a slogan that does not need to be tied to push for freedom. Jesus Christ, dude, you're still doing it. You're still doing it. It's ridiculous.
Look, Israel was attacked on October 7.
I don't think ripping up fascist propaganda to make you think what Israel is doing is okay is bad personally. No, dude, it's fucking ridiculous. You live in America, okay? You live in motherfucking America. We are responsible for this ethnic cleansing campaign happening. We're having these conversations, and it doesn't matter, even if not a single fucking poster was ripped apart, that people would still make these same inferences, okay? Because people are desperate to try to justify the ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign. But the fact that, like, that's your act of resistance is ridiculous. Because guess what? Those are still babies, okay? Those are still Israeli civilians. Like, think about the grandmother, that the 85-year-old grandmother that Hamas, the Al-Qassam brigades, released into the Rafah border. Think about how kind of an individual she is, okay? She has spent most of her fucking life in a settler colonial state. Understandable, okay? This part is true. But she spent most of her fucking life transporting Palestinians that need desperately to get cancer, to get cancer treatment into Israel. There are decent humans. You're fucking ridiculous. Come on. Come on. It's fucking insane to just say, oh, sorry, every single Israeli is an enemy combatant. It's ridiculous. The reason why I don't talk about it is because it is silly to talk about it. It's incredibly silly to talk about it when there's much worse shit happening on the ground. And I do think that people talk about it specifically so that they don't talk about the other thing. Okay? They don't talk about what is going on in Gaza. But having said that, if you want to know, if you want to understand what my position is, if you want to understand what I think about things like that, I think it's gross. It's fucking gross. Not only is it gross, but you're also lending credence to the propaganda that you claim these posters are. Okay? Like, but having said that, there is a line that I draw in the fucking sand. Okay? The line that I draw in the sand, when there's things that are worthy of condemnation, which I offer condemnation to, but the line that I fucking draw in the sand is when people go, anything that you say about free Palestine, for example, that's anti-Semitic. No, the fuck it's not. You're a fucking piece of shit. You are using one of the grossest fascist things, okay? Anti-Semitism is gross. It is disgusting. It is idiotic. It is fascist, okay? You're using a very real thing that happens all the fucking time as a cudgel, as a way to deflect away from the Israeli government's ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign. It's fucking disgusting. Disgusting. Been to Israel TikTok lately. There's a lot of Israeli civilians that are mocking dead Palestinian babies via skits. Not sure if you checked. I have seen those things, okay? It's gross. The culture of apartheid is fucking disgusting. It's gross. Okay? Anyway, here, they're voting now. Let's take a look.
Abstentions 23. Having failed to obtain a two-thirds majority of members present and voting, draft amendment A/ES10 L26 is not adopted.
All right, James, so just talk us through what this means now for the amendment that was put forward.
The amendment is dead. That's gone. That's gone. We can forget about the amendment. I think there were some Western countries, and particularly the US, were hoping they could get the amendment through and then the whole resolution would be amended and then they'd vote on that. That amendment is not there. What we'll now need to see is whether there is a 2/3 majority for the original resolution, which has not now been amended, which will have no direct mention of Hamas, but does call for an immediate, durable and sustained ceasefire and calls for immediate humanitarian aid, including a resumption of water, electricity and delivery, something that Israel has not allowed because they say it's dual-use delivery of fuel. We're going to see, I think in a moment, the Security Council is going to vote on that.
Amendment A/ES10
Let's listen in.
/L26 is not adopted, we shall proceed to take a decision on draft resolution A/ES10/L25. The Assembly will now take a decision on draft resolution A/ES10.
Here it is from the Spectator Index from a little bit earlier. The U.S. spokesperson says Israel owes no one any justification and that it will have no red lines. I don't know who this fucking person is. Please stop sending me Spectator Index tweets, okay? I would much rather hear about, actual... I would much rather hear from actual fucking sources.
Oust a more brutal regime, the Taliban. That
wasn't even a war in.
Caring about slogans and optics to ignore genocide is just a bullshit. Words are literally violence, neoliberal trash, so that these people can feel like they are being good little libs. No, I think it's dirtier than that. It is to launder a secret position that you have, a position where you're sitting on the fence about an active, ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign. That's why people do it. That's why people go, ugh, guys, we're really going to talk about anti-Semitism on the left right now. I mean, wow, it's really out of control. Is there fucking anti-Semitism on the left? Of course there is. There's anti-Semitism everywhere. No one is rid of anti-Semitism. No movement is rid of anti-Semitism. Okay? There's racism on the left. There's anti-Semitism on the left. You know where it actually is, though? At its highest? On the right. So what the fuck are we talking about here? It's just a way to literally deflect. And then you have dipshits like this. How does blowing up jihadists upset people? That guy doesn't actually, that will never be fucking addressed as a disgusting freak-like way to justify ethnic cleansing. Why? Because that attitude is one that the American State Department also shares. Okay? It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. I will not be capitulating to this fucking bad faith takes. Like, what are you doing? Here.
You can see that it's been plunged into darkness pretty much. We'll bring in Marwan Bishara. He's Al Jazeera's senior political analyst. He's joining us by Skype from London to tie everything together, Marwan, because there are a lot of moving pieces and there have been a lot of developments. So what we have is Gaza really plunged into darkness. We have the Israeli military spokesman who announced that they'll be expanding their ground operations. We have a resolution that's being voted on at the UN. And we also heard a few hours ago that there could potentially be some sort of ceasefire and prisoner exchange deal between Israel and Hamas that's being mediated by Qatar. How do you explain all of this?
There's a lot of points.
It was John Kirby who said there are no red lines.
Let's just start with what we just heard this past hour. We heard Israelis, Canadians, and Americans, and a bit of Jordanians. And clearly, they are trying to frame the crisis that we are living. And they are, like the Israeli bombing, drowning Gaza, drowning the cries coming out of Gaza. Tariq reports out of Gaza. Gaza is suffering, is crying out for help. But the sound of bombings, the sounds of the Americans, of the Canadians, of the Israelis are drowning the suffering that is not reaching the rest of the world, because we are all preoccupied with the theater of the absurd at the United Nations, with American sound bites that are just all of it, deception. We heard from the Pentagon spokesperson saying they are there for deterrence, not to widen the war. But their deployment of 2 aircraft carriers is widening the conflict. Their shielding of Israel is allowing Israel's genocide to continue unabated in Gaza. America's presence and complicity with Israel is threatening to widen the conflict. The Canadian ambassador speaks that there is no hierarchy among human beings. He wants a condemnation of Hamas attacks, fine, but he wouldn't talk about the condemnation of Israel and its genocide in Palestine. So there is apparently a hierarchy, as if Palestinians are people of a lesser God, because this has been the Pentagon, the Americans and Europeans' response to what is going on. Because let me tell you something. We are covering the events of October 27. Everyone wants to start history in October 7, as the Canadian ambassador tried to do. We are here because it's October 7. No, Mr. Ambassador, we are not here because of October 7. Some of us has a bit of a longer memory than 20 days.
And Marwan, let me just jump in there for a moment, because we now understand that that General Assembly resolution has been approved. I'm going to bring in our diplomatic editor, James Bays, in a moment, and he'll talk us through some of the numbers. But I'm reading right now that it's been approved. This resolution calls for a humanitarian truce in Gaza. What's your response to that? And what message is it sending out? Non-binding, of course, but what sort of message does it send out?
It's non-binding. It doesn't matter. They're not going to listen to it.
Let me preempt James by saying that this is a symbolic importance for this resolution, but it doesn't have any muscle whatsoever. And I think the going saying in Israel, the going wisdom in Israel throughout its history is the following. The world can say what it must. And we
Guys, they've killed UN workers. 29 people that work for the UN have been fucking murdered by the Israeli government in this last siege, okay? This is infinitely more important than whatever the fuck the UN is saying. 32 now? 53? What the fuck? I'm sorry. Oh, the numbers keep updating. Okay. This is way more important than what the fucking UN is saying. White House National Security Counsel John Kirby telling reporters that the U.S. is not drawing red lines for Israel, reiterating support for the country's defense against Hamas, a designated terrorist group. Hasan's stream isn't showing up on my followed list. Anyone else having this issue? I don't know what's going on there, okay? I don't know what the fuck's happening. It might be just a you problem. Yeah. Israeli poll finds 49% support holding off on Gaza ground invasion. Ground offensive. Nearly half of all respondents believe the Israeli government should wait with its ground operation in Gaza, while just over a quarter believe the IDF should embark on the offensive immediately. Almost half of Israelis want to hold off on any invasion of Gaza, according to a poll published on Friday, in what may indicate a dip in support for the planned next stage of the counteroffensive against Hamas militants holding some 200 hostages. Israel vowed to annihilate Hamas in response to the Palestinian Islamist killing and kidnapping spree in the southern communities on October 7th, and has been stepping up tank and infantry raids in concert with heavy shelling on the enclave. Asked if the military should immediately escalate to a large-scale ground offensive, 29% of Israelis agreed, while 49% said it would be better to wait, and 22% were undecided, the poll published in the Ma'ariv newspaper yesterday. The Daily said the results contrasted with this October 19th poll that found 65% support for a major ground offensive. America is, once again, lapping Israel on its right-wing reactionary American government, not American people, because we saw the Canadian poll as well, okay? This is not a popular idea for the populations. It's simply a universally adopted position by those in positions of power, okay?
Being honest about the fact that there have been civilian casualties and that there likely will be more is being honest, because that's what war is. It's brutal, it's ugly, it's messy. I've said that before. The president also said that yesterday. Doesn't mean we have to like it.
It's hard to look at what he's doing in Ukraine, what his forces are doing in Ukraine, and think that any ethical, moral individual could justify that. It's difficult to look at It's difficult to look at some of the images and imagine that any well-thinking, serious, mature leader would do that.
And being
there you go. He sheds tears for dying Ukrainians in the hands of Russian forces, but dying Palestinians, you know, in the hands of Israelis is just is gonna fucking be civilian casualties as a part of the war. Has Russia now become the most moral army in the world? Yeah, I don't know. There is no proper way to resist against an apartheid, resist against colonial occupation. I just want you to understand. There's no perfect way to do it, okay? That's why on the optics side, although I draw lines on what I think is like permissible and what I think is ridiculous and also immoral and unproductive, there's a line I won't cross, okay? And the line I won't cross is like saying, oh, well, from the river to the sea is genocidal. It's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Straight up.
They did oust a more brutal regime, the Taliban. There wasn't even a war aim. There wasn't even a war aim. Wasn't even a war aim. But is that a moral thing to do? They did get rid of a brutal regime. There was celebration in now.
Good, fine. Let them bomb Israel and get rid of the brutal regime there.
How do you distinguish between that kind of what you describe as terrorism and what they are saying, Osama bin Laden, who's a terrorist? Make the distinction.
It's very simple. If they do it, it's terrorism. If we do it, it's counterterrorism. That's a historical universal. Go back to Nazi propaganda, see? Most extreme mass murderers ever. If you look at Nazi propaganda, it's exactly what they said. Yep. They said they are defending the populations and the legitimate governments of Europe. Nobody except the ultra-right wing.
Yeah. People think that, like, the Nazis just, people, I think, literally, what's that fucking famous take where they say, like, Americans only get taught about World War II. It's back. We're back. Fuck, dude. God fucking damn it. All right, let's see. I'm going to start tracking the packet loss. Fuck. Ay, dude. This one was a short one. Luckily, this was a tiny one. Okay. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying. God damn it. Oh, Americans only learn about World War II, and even then, they don't know shit about World War II, okay? Americans only learn about World War II, and even then, they don't know shit about World War II, because the Nazi campaign against Jews did not happen overnight, okay? It was a long approach of dehumanization that they engaged in while using one of the most antiquated forms of hatred. Anti-Semitism was already well established in Europe, okay? It was already centuries old at that fucking point. Pogroms had occurred everywhere in European countries. BO3 of 95, thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Now, what you have to remember is most people don't even comprehend how that works. Like, most people don't understand how that happened. Like, do you think the Germans didn't fucking put up a reasonable reason as to why they were combating the Jews amongst their ranks? Of course they did. It was bullshit. But from the logical confines that they cultivated for themselves, it made sense. This does not mean that it was right. This does not mean that it was moral. Of course it was immoral and unjustifiable. But it doesn't change the reality that they didn't just go, yeah, Jews are bad. And everyone was like, yeah, I agree, actually. Okay? Like, that's not, you're oversimplifying it. That's why it's really important to understand. It's really, really important to understand how the Holocaust happened, specifically so you don't fucking commit it again. Okay? That's what never again is all about.